Hey everyone, my name is Derek Henry, and in this week's video blog, we're going to talk about the power of self-service. What does self-service mean? Well, it means anytime you can provide your customers, your vendors, your business partners, employees, really anybody that you might interface with, the ability to take care of tasks themselves without relying on a human to interface with. Now, that's not always ideal, but in a lot of cases it is, and it has a lot of benefits to it. Now, what you're seeing in the background here is the Walmart self-checkout. So the trend that you've been seeing for the last 15 or so years is that a lot of stores are putting self-checkout kiosks in place, and it helps them keep labor costs down because customers can kind of take care of themselves. So we'll talk about a couple other examples besides that, some benefits in this video. Now, the benefits, clearly, one of them, you can save time. I think back about 20 years ago, I was at a Walmart when they did not have self-checkout. They had like 50 aisles, but only 2 of them had employees that were servicing them as the cashiers because it was late at night. It wasn't designed to have a whole bunch of people. It wasn't like it was Black Friday. And it took forever because there were a couple of people in line, had a lot of stuff, even though it was the express lane. And that could have been quicker. Those machines, had we been able to check ourselves out, it would have been super quick. So to me, I'm a big fan of this for the most part. It can save a lot of time when you're not having to wait on another person, when you can take care of it yourself. It can also cost quite a bit less because if you have less employees that have to be available to service customers, that's a lot. Labor is a big expense, so that's a lot less that you have to pay for, and you can often pass on that savings to your customers. It's also less frustrating. If you've ever sat on hold with customer service for 30 to 60 minutes, it is a really frustrating experience. And not that you can take care of everything, you can't completely get away from dealing with customer service agents like that, but it tends to be more frustrating when all you want to do is that simple thing like check your balance or make a reservation change or something, and you have to go through a person to do that. There's also less errors. You ever thought about when you put a restaurant app order in place that you're putting in the order, you're checking every single thing in, and you're submitting it? There's just less error points when a person has to take that order and enter it themselves, even if they read it back to you. I had to do that when I was a server waiting tables, and I tell you what, it was funny because I would repeat orders back to people all the time, and they were paying attention. So even though I'm trying my best to limit errors, they still happen. The one downside to the self-service approach is that there's less customer interaction. Now, that may be a good thing, it may be a bad thing. It really depends on the nature of your business and how much you rely on developing deep customer relationships. That could be a bad thing, but at the end of the day, leveraging both of these, the human element when you need it, the self-service approach when it's just incremental things and people are happy to take care of themselves, seems to work really well. Now, some examples. Clearly, the self-checkout thing, you see that quite a bit in places like Walmart and Target and, pharmacy places. It's growing. You're seeing it in places you really hadn't before. I was in Europe recently and it was prevalent all over the place there. It's the way that you're going to see it as a default. Now, again, I like having both options where you can have a person if you need help, where I can get in and out myself without having to. And my favorite approach is Sam's. They have the scan and go feature within their app where you're literally scanning the barcodes of items and putting them in your cart. It's awesome because you're doing it as you go. So when you're ready to get out of there, you're done. They just check it at the door to make sure you've got everything accounted for. Online ordering of any kind. If you have some kind of business and it makes sense to have an online presence, and it almost always does, even if it's just social media, that's a self-service approach where people can kind of browse your catalog, make purchases if they want to. That's less people you have to have in a store. COVID accelerated these things, the ability to order online and have it shipped or curbside or in-store pickup. Those things were available, but they grew like crazy when we're like, I don't want to be around people and maybe get a disease. That's something to consider no matter what your business is, if it makes sense. Having an online community where you can go to ask questions, have a knowledge base, have interface between people to share best practices. That kind of thing can really help get your customers talking, as opposed to having to call a 1-800 number or staff a really broad, large support team. Maybe let those people talk to themselves and figure it out first if you can provide them a really useful way to do that. Interfacing with auditors. Now, this is kind of for all the accountants out there. That's what my background's been in. The first 5 years of my professional career, I was an auditor. The most frustrating thing for auditors, in my opinion, is having to wait on requests from your clients to do your job. You can't just make stuff up. You have to rely on what they're saying their financial statements are and how they support them. So one of the things I saw work really well was Blackline. What Blackline does, it's a reconciliation software, can track task management, does all kinds of cool things that support a really modernized and efficient accounting close process. One of the best features for us was taking all those audit requests, putting them into software so we could track it, we could assign things and due dates and see how we were working, and best of all, share that and collaborate with the auditors, because they generally ask for the same stuff. So we could put everything in there and link it to the work we were already doing so that it was efficient. We knew that anything that was in there was only what we wanted to see. It was reviewed, it was the right version, and if something changed, it wouldn't let them see it anymore. It's a beautiful approach, and just think about how that might affect some of the processes that you're doing. A couple other examples here. Customers. You work hard. Why not get paid for that? I mean, you've earned the revenue. Make sure you get paid for it. And that's a key thing that a lot of companies don't really spend a lot of effort and thought on. So if you have a customer portal where customers can see exactly what they owe you and when, and ability to pay and maybe dispute things when they're maybe not what they're expecting, and when they pay, they can say, here's what we are paying, here are the specific invoices we're applying. That saves a lot of time on the back end and the front end, because people don't have to interface with that. They can spend their time working with customers and maybe more on the selling side of things, not the collecting side. So a customer portal is a phenomenal idea if you are in the business of collecting and invoicing and granting credit. If you just have an online store and you collect credit cards, you don't really need that because it's very easy. Maybe you have an area for customers from that aspect, but invoicing, definitely something to look into that a lot of companies haven't done quite yet. And then on the vendor side, very similar to the customer side, if you can show vendors what you have received and what you intend to pay and when you intend to pay it, you can reduce a lot of inquiries. And if you ask anybody that's in the accounts payable department, they'll tell you it's kind of frustrating. People are constantly calling you saying, when are you going to pay? When are you going to pay? Right? So those are a lot of good examples of what I mean by a self-service approach that you can leverage. Use your creativity and just keep in mind the fact that there are ways to do this in more of a self-service automatic way and still leverage a human element and spend time with people in a way that builds relationships. And that's the way you want your people to spend their time, right? So if you can find a way to leverage the best of both, it's a beautiful thing. So hopefully you found that helpful. If you have any comments and you want to share a story about something that's worked for you in the self-service approach way, then please let us know. Otherwise, thanks for watching and have a fabulous rest of your day.